Because you cut off a couple times, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's either Discord or me just forgetting to push the button. I have to use the push to talk because I usually have two girls running around. I got a 7-month-old daughter and a basically 2.5-year-old girl, and they're both full of life demands and loud sounds.
Let's see. I close my door.
Okay. Well, it's all looking good here. You're probably away from your headphones anyway. Can't hear a word I'm saying.
What's that?
Oh, it's all looking good here, and I'm recording on my end, so we can get started whenever you want to.
Let's see. I have a very unconventional setup. I have so I'm in a dorm room, and I have my PlayStation, and I have my a laptop that a roommate just left from. He dropped out, so I was like, he didn't come back for 6 or 7 months. Haven't heard from him since. So I was like, I'm scooping this up. I wiped it, and now I use his laptop.
Hey, wow, that's a good deal for you.
And I got I used my other roommate's snowball he got from I don't know, he got it from somewhere, and he never used his computer, so I'm like, PlayStation, iPhone, laptop, and a TV. That's kind of my setup.
So you still play War Thunder on PlayStation?
Yes. It's 30 FPS life.
Man, that is, there was this huge, well, I guess PlayStation's been around for ages, but there was this huge, expectation among PC players. Oh, these Xbox people are going to come in and we're going to stomp them. And then you get shot down by somebody with a @live or whatever. But you know what? There might be a certain handicap when it comes to hardware, but that can be overcome.
I think that PlayStation is I think there's definitely a handicap, especially when it comes to aircraft. You notice, I find the thing you notice a lot is 30 FPS really isn't that bad, but if you were used to 60 FPS coming to War Thunder and playing on 30, it'd be very noticeable. It's kind of the big thing is when you are turning your turret or sweeping across the screen really fast, everything kind of is slightly blurred, so you don't pick up on somebody sitting in a bush line if you weren't ready to notice him. And obviously I use a controller as well, so that is inherently a disadvantage, but I don't know, I've played with it so long, I can do fairly decent.
I tried playing with the controller. Actually, I think I tried playing on PlayStation just to see what it was like. And I used to be decent at shooters with, twin stick controls. Yeah, that's not the case anymore. It's far from the case. Yeah. But, it seems like everything in War Thunder, you take one step, and then you just get jumped by the next level of players, So you kind of get used to it anyway, playing at a disadvantage, because even when you're on PC, as soon as you jump into a higher battle rating bracket, it's like, oh man, it's going to be this all over again, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's kind of the biggest kind of stair steps for me has been so I started playing with controller, and I started off on arcade, and I always thought man, this isn't that, or this is really hard. And I got through the arcade phase, and I moved on to RB and got spanked for probably I don't know, at least 6 or 7 months before I started to kind of catch up a little bit. And then I probably played RB for another year after that before me and Mr. Steve Gamer, Ethan, Cone of Arc made the squadron, and we played that, or we did that, and it was playing against people that were actually really good and could coordinate was like the next big step. So I've kind of gotten up to that point at least, and we've done like some minor tournaments and stuff, but tournaments is like the next step up, and it's like they're really you don't face G Squad very much. They don't really play squadron battles, but you will fight them in tournaments. Like just about every single tournament there is, they will be in it.
Yes, the infamous G Squad. Well, anyway, I've just been doing a little bit of looking over your channel, and you really caught my attention with your War Thunder bug compilations. I thought those were an excellent public service, and it was interesting to see which ones I'd experienced myself and which ones were, well, surprising and new and fresh. And for everybody that plays War Thunder, it is a game that is almost defined by its bugs. You know, there's fresh ones every new update, and there's a list of the dead with every new bug fix patch. There's a lot of that, but there's always plenty to enjoy if you're interested in being a connoisseur. So with that, your channel's a little bit memey. You have some nice art on your channel. Like I mentioned, the bug compilations have been especially tasty to me, and obviously you've been a player of War Thunder for a while, and you're part of the console crowd, and still competing on a tournament level with PC Master Race, as proud as we can be. So that puts you way above my level of skill, but I'm sort of a fan of pretty much everything to do with War Thunder. Did I miss anything when I was talking about your channel?
I think it all started off like I started the channel when it was as a joke. I mean, I don't have like a massive following. I don't really upload too much. I'm more like, I kind of do videos, or videos is like the side to streaming, but I still like, at least when I do a video, I want to be as nice as I can get it. It's kind of hard to edit with a PlayStation, but I don't know, as long as you're putting stuff out there and you're doing your best, then I think people will respect that.
I have a dream that a man will be judged on the quality of his content and not the power of his PC.
That's
Carry
perfect.
on.
I was gonna say the first video I did was I was like, I was pretty cocky. I was like, man, I'm hitting these really good shots, and I was like, I'm gonna start recording these, put it into a video, and I was like, just as a joke. So I got together, I don't know, maybe I don't even remember how long it was. My very first video, besides like, really I've had the channel for a while, like years and years, and I uploaded stuff when I was like, I don't know, 7 or like maybe 11, and I recorded stuff on an iPod Nano. But beyond that, when I actually put up a video, was like, it was my first kill compilation. I did basically, a compilation of kills, and I'm like, this is retarded, but I'm gonna put it up there just so my friends can look at it. I was like, yeah, maybe it would be like, I don't know, maybe it'd do something. So I put it up there, and like, I think got like 200 views, and then that was it for like probably a year. And then all of a sudden, I think Ethan had noticed that it had gotten up to like 1,000 views. I was like, oh, no way. And I went and looked at it, and over the next like 3 or 4 weeks, it was like getting 2,000 views a day, and it just exploded. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. So that kind of kickstarted me to maybe make another video, which I didn't for like 2 months.
You have no idea how many people you're making intensely, burningly jealous right now. There's so many people that put a lot of passion and real skill into making, even if you want to get as specific as War Thunder. I've seen so many kill compilations, and I'm like, this is great. And I've seen it 1,000 times, and it gets like 25 views. But what I just watched while you were talking about that is the oldest video I see on your channel. Tell me what it is. It's Ghillie Suit Scare, and the description is, "This is me scaring my friend's sister." All in lowercase. Yeah. Quality material for all of you true fans of Zakkattack out there. This is the definitive experience. I think you peaked with Ghillie Suit Scare, and the rest of this has just been sort of a slow descent into madness. But anyway, it's been nice getting a slice. And you stream on Twitch, right? YouTube. Oh, perfect. I actually watch YouTube. I love Twitch streamers, but I never cross over to Twitch to actually watch something. But anyway,
same.
I generally like to ask people more about their life and get a feel for who you are as a person, and just enough about your channel to encourage people to check it out for themselves. My name is Casey, by the way. I run the Toshio Thunder YouTube channel, and I'm guessing that your name is Zakk.
It's entirely possible. My name is Zakk, but the trick and the key here is that it's Zakk with 2 Ks. So there's no hidden trick there with my name. I know people like to spell it with a CK like about every time, but it's KK. So take that.
Interesting. Either your parents were very creative or like 2/3 white supremacist, and I'm gonna go with the very creative. So anyway, you were born, and then things happened. Tell me about that.
So I was born. They named me after a guitarist for Ozzy Osbourne, which was his name is Zakk Wylde, and it's spelled the same way, so 2 Ks. Grew up in, like, everybody grows up in a small town, so I grew up in a moderately sized town, and there's probably about 3,000 people in it, so relatively big, in Connecticut. And I lived in this like 3-story house that was it was like split into apartments, but it was kind of like shared throughout my family. So it was me, my mom, my dad were on the 3rd floor, and then my grandma, my aunt were on the bottom floor, or we were on the 2nd floor. Grandma and aunt were on the 1st floor, and then eventually we ended up turning the attic into an apartment, and my aunt moved up there.
Room for the whole clan.
Yeah. So, and then like right across the street was like the same deal. So we had like a whole nother section of family that lived in a 3-story house. And it was like my other aunt and my cousins, and I think that was about it for that. But I grew up there, and then we moved across the street in the other direction and to like a small little house. And then I lived there for like, I'd say 5 years. And then I moved to Ohio to go to college. So now I go to college for automotive high performance and alternative fuels. I went to high school for just automotive as a trade, and I want to kind of pursue something a little bit more interesting. I'm really not interested in like the tech side of automotive. I'm more into like engine building, transmission building, like tuning, the fun aspect of automotive.
Ooh, there is a channel that I'm trying to think of right now. He's a guy who does a series, I think it's called Greg's Automotive or something, but I hope I got his name right. Anyway, he did this video called like why the 109 was faster than the Mustang, and another video called why the Mustang was faster than the 109. And he's clearly, toying with people with these sort of clickbaity titles just a little bit. But he is very technical in getting into how the engines were built and the different effects of aerodynamics on performance and all kinds of really cool stuff. I think you would be very interested in that.
That actually sounds pretty cool.
But yeah, please carry on with talking about your school.
Let's see, so I've been at this school for I think 1 year and 3/4, coming up maybe 2 years. Maybe yeah, I think it actually has been 2 years. 2.25 years I've been at this school. And when I'm done, I'll get, so it'll be like, I took a dual program, so it's automotive high performance is a associate's degree, and then automotive itself is an associate's degree. And then taking alternative fuels, which is a diploma program, just because, that's just the way of the future, whether you like it or not. Either electric or biodiesel or E85, you name it. So just something interesting.
But my Abrams, heresy detected. Save the oil. Anyway,
I must have oil.
All right,
ladies and gentlemen, we secured a peace treaty with Syria and Turkey. We have secured the oil.
Yeah,
that's Trump released that in a statement when he did the I don't know, it was like some public announcement, or it was a ceasefire. But let's see, so I've been here for about 2.25 years, been taking these programs, and maybe sometime around last year is when my first kill compilation video had started taking off. And then I was like, I'm gonna get into all these sound effects and I don't know, just start doing that. So I was doing sound effects, and I was trying to ride what was left of the hype train for my first video. And there really wasn't too much left out of that. I think I kind of killed that horse a little bit. So I made 3 or 4 videos, but they're basically the same. But it was a little bit of a different take. It was kind of I don't know, using sound effects and stuff. And I look back on it now, I was like, it's cringe. But I think the next major video I made was it was an AA kill compilation, and that was kind of getting back away from sound effects. And then I uploaded a few little random things here and there. And I think I came out with, the next big video that actually hit off was my Gaijin compilation, my first one. That did really well, because I think a lot of people can relate to just the most retarded stuff happening to you, or even if it's justified, it's you've got to be joking, right? It's like bombing I don't know, let's say you get a double kill in your plane, but for some reason you manage to kill yourself with the bomb, even though you're nowhere near it, or because they adjusted bomb physics without saying anything.
Oh, I very much noticed that, where it basically the damage effect is half for everyone other than you, and for your own plane is doubled. Mm-hmm. So you can destroy your own plane with a bomb that doesn't kill another plane that's behind you because of reasons. But you know what? It's one of those things you adapt to, but it's when it catches you, you're just hold up. Excuse me, what the fuck?
Wait a second.
So outside of the growth of your channel, which has been something that, like I said, I'm jealous. I wish people would notice a thing. Actually, I sort of committed to not caring if people like what I'm making or not. I just make what I love, and that makes life easy for me. But you've found something that people really identify with between the Gaijin videos and the bug compilations, and you have the amount of skill to make things like kill compilations that are worth watching. But outside of that, you've talked about growing up in what, for those of you that don't know where Connecticut is, it's a tiny state in what's called New England, right? It's in New England, which is this cluster of little teeny states that's sort of the birthplace of America before it was even a nation. And then as we moved out, our states started getting bigger and more full of colorful people. But in any event, you talked some about growing up and getting into school. Do you feel like talking a little bit about your family? You mentioned mom and dad. Any siblings?
I have one sister and 3 brothers. So they were all older than me and out of the house with the exception of one. So when I was
your parents get along is what you're saying. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, I'd say yeah. So my closest sibling is Derek, and he's like, I'm not sure. I think he's 15 years older than me. And he was only in the house for like a few years after I was born, so that kind of area is a little bit of a blur. I couldn't delve too much into that.
15
but he moved off to college.
Older. That is very. Your parents really do love each other. Man, I can't imagine my wife still. Oh, whatever. Sorry. keep going.
Let's see. And then my sister's like only a year older than him, and my other brother is a year older than her. And they kind of all. My brother moved down to Florida for college. He's back up in Connecticut, or Derek is, and then my sister Jackie is. She lives in Mass, so she's like an hour away. And my other brother Mikey lives in. I think he lives in Rhode Island. Yeah, I think he lives Rhode Island. And then my other brother David he's also in Connecticut.
Okay.
He's about to have a kid.
So your parents were pretty old when they had you. I mean, I shouldn't put it that way, but they were older than a lot of parents that are just having a baby.
36.
Okay, well that's not so old. I'm like 32, and I feel old, but there's older people having kids these days.
I don't get the whole thing of I can see having kids into your like mid 30s, but I think once you start to get in your 40s, man, it starts to be kind of like if you can have kids in your 40s, it's like great to have a kid if you really want one, but it's kind of messed up to have a kid later in your life because you can't even you gotta think by the time they're 20, you're gonna be 60 years old. And I know people that have kids and they're 45. Some family friends had kids when they're 45, and it's that's just, you can't even you're not gonna have the energy to just be there.
It's definitely one of those things that it changes what it's like. Comedians talk about having old parents, and they're like, "Yeah, my dad pees sitting down." It's like he's like 60. Yeah, your dad could beat my dad. But yeah, it's a different experience having parents that are older and more experienced, and I think that they end up sort of lightening up a little bit and also not being quite as wild. So it's interesting that they still named you after a rocker after all. Maybe they hadn't forgotten about their wild days. But I think we've talked enough about mom and dad. You mentioned that you were in sort of a medium to large size family with the number of siblings you had, but they weren't all in the house at the same time for a lot of the part. As for yourself, you plan on having kids?
Oh yeah, I definitely want to have at least one. I could probably settle with one, but I don't know. I want a boy, but I have a feeling I'm gonna get a girl, so I'll probably have to have two. But I think that's definitely something on my to-do list at some point. Maybe like, I don't know, give it 5 years or something.
Well, I can tell you that if you love your kids, then it's definitely worth it to have kids. You gotta love their mom too, by the way. And speaking of that, Spill, what are you willing to tell? Love life, girlfriend? Tell me about your secrets.
So, well, I dated this girl for, I don't know, maybe 2.5 years, and that was pretty cool. That was like high school sweetheart type deal. And then we broke up about a year before I left to go to college. Since I've been in college, I basically go to like an all boys school. It's pretty, there's girls, there is girls. They're just not what I'm interested in. Let's just say they're kind of they just aren't my type. Let's just leave it at that.
That's fair, man. If you wanted to date yourself, you wouldn't be a straight man. So, you had a high school sweetheart. Your prospects are currently open. Is that what you're saying?
Prospects are open. I have, there's a few girls that I talk to on a regular basis, and like I had a date the other day. That went well. So no future plans really, but there is prospects, I suppose.
You're not just playing around either. You're looking for the potential of finding a wife, maybe raising some awesome kids, and that's a good way to look at it. So
I think I definitely could play around, but I could play around, but there's also, I don't know. I always keep my eye out for, I don't know, maybe the one.
Queuing in multiple servers. Zakkattack. Okay, so where do we go from here? We talked about your deep giggly secrets. We talked about your parents that I thought were like super old, but they're like 3 years older than me when they had you. And man, I feel old anyway, this isn't about me, but there's nothing that'll make you feel old like having kids. So look forward to that. I guess the next thing to ask is plans for the future. I mean, obviously you're in school, you're training for an exciting career in alternative fuels, which will be just a gas, I'm sure. And what other plans do you have for the future? Future of your channel, future of your life, dreams and goals?
Now this is kind of a question that I've run this back so many times. It's kind of more refined now that I'm older, and I don't know. My siblings have always kind of like they've always been jealous that I kind of had a game plan, but I don't know. It's all up in the air, really. But anyways, so future prospects, plans, game plan is I would love to invent something in my life. I have like I believe it was my great grandfather and my great it's either great great or great grandfather and uncle worked together to build a modification of the Bridgeport Miller, which is it's a really really prevalent machining machine.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
It's like a modified drill press, basically. But it can do like everything. So they made if I remember correctly, they made a design to where the head could swivel 360, which allowed it to do a numerous amount of things that it could not do before. And I think that played slightly in part to the machine being known to be able to build itself. So you can build a Bridgeport Miller with a Bridgeport Miller. But it was more like my great great uncle who came up with the plan, and my great great grandfather was there to assist. I don't know how things went down, but we basically don't have any contact with that like side of the family because we're not rich, but they still are in business working on Bridgeport Millers in southern Connecticut, I believe, like Bridgeport area.
That's really cool. I watch a channel called AVE, and he uses an old clapped out Bridgeport milling machine all the time. But I gotta run real quick and go pick up the baby. She's yelling at me, so I'll be back in a second.
Okay.
Okay, baby's up now, so I'm gonna try and get you to do more of the talking. You've done a great job of sharing interesting facts about your life, and that's neat that you're sort of connected to an invention that I'm familiar with. Hi, baby. That's a great smile. Yeah, you are so happy. Okay, yeah. Then she goes for my teeth every time. But I mean, I jotted down a few things to ask you about while you were talking about your famous millers. And that is, well, among a few other things, hobbies. What else are you interested in besides War Thunder and the ridiculous amount of time you have to do in your studies?
Oh, God. Well, I do have a car. I have a 2002 Mazda Miata that I'm saving up some money to put a little performance into, and I got we're working on planning a trip to New Zealand. A lot of the people we met on the Discord are really close friends now, so we went to Canada, and that was really fun. So we have one friend that we've known for a really long time on the Discord that lives in New Zealand, and hey, maybe we could go to New Zealand. So planning on going to New Zealand sometime next year. And basically, I play War Thunder and do my schoolwork. That's basically it right now, but I don't know. I'm trying, I do YouTube too, obviously, so trying to set it up to where I really want to. So I'm into the stock market. I like the stock market, and I want to have things set up to where I can have the stock market as like a source of income, have like YouTube as a source of income, and have my job as a source of income, and then ultimately like move to I'm thinking of moving to Maine and setting up like maybe an Airbnb on the coast and having that as another form of income ultimately. So like I want to phase myself out of working like a regular job.
Oh, Zakk, tell me a little bit about your hobbies. I love gold. No, that's interesting that you're interested in the stock market. I've looked a little bit at how that works, and I bunked with a guy. I guess we all rented a house together, who was into, I guess you could call it casual day trading, and he made a nice little profit on a pretty regular basis. So it's one of those things that you don't have to be hyper intelligent. You just look at the trends and pay attention. That's the big thing. It's almost like you're getting paid to pay attention to what's going on. And
yeah, exactly.
That makes me wonder, just out of the blue, what are your thoughts on the Gaijin market and the trends on the market there? Because they're pretty pronounced during events and things.
Well, I don't have access to the market, but I do know a thing or two about how it works. And when it comes to the Gaijin market, big events where there's like big sellers, in other words, like, well, I don't know. It could go either way. It could be really crappy vehicles or like maybe kind of average vehicles that people just want to get rid of, or like to get other vehicles, or it could be a really good vehicle and it sells really high. Either way, the last event, or the event with the VFW and the BT7 with the 75 and the 110 with the Canon, that brought down market prices a lot because people were selling them, people were buying them, and a lot of people were using that money to go and buy other vehicles, which they were all the lower priced vehicles were selling like in their category, like the pack wagon. The lower priced ones are selling off, so people were dropping their prices to be more competitive to sell their pack wagons that they've been waiting to sell. And it overall just brought the whole market down. And because there's such an influx of currency. So that was kind of interesting. Hopefully, I know with PlayStation announcing cross-platform play with Xbox and computer or PC, I think the potential to see access to the marketplace and like in PlayStation 5 is definitely possible if Sony's end can pick it up. And I don't know the rules and regulations, but
I'm sure it just comes down to who gets the bigger lump of the money, and Sony's going to want a piece of that Gaijin market pie if they let that go on. But next time I'm looking at the Gaijin marketplace, and you can check it by going to trade.gaijin.net, and I think you do have to log in, so you'd have to have a PC account. Maybe you can make that on your laptop with just an email if you want to check on the market. I'll have to hit you up. I'll have to keep you in mind next time I'm looking at the market, because it's interesting. It really has been something that we've seen evolve from sort of a rich man's game into something with more reasonable prices, just because of how many people are trading things back and forth. Yeah, baby. Yes, you're very excited about life. So I didn't mean to ask you about, or I didn't intend to ask you about that, but it was an interesting thing to, ow, my lip, oh god, oh, that hurt like crazy. She has these sharp little fingernails, and Big Sis bashed me in the lip with a bucket earlier, and just split it open a little teeny bit on the inside. And then Baby Sis comes in and digs in with those fingernails. Oh my gosh. It's like straight up Guantanamo Bay up in here. Anyway, and they're making me talk, I'll tell you. But anyway, let's move on to a couple more things, and then I'll probably have to get out of here because this girl's starting to get demanding. You talked about your car and how you want to get into some tuning, and that makes perfect sense. One thing I wanted to ask you is, you've talked a little bit about some of your family, but were there people that you looked up to in the past, sort of mentors and examples? Maybe just somebody that means a lot to you today as sort of an inspiration.
I mean, definitely like, I don't know. My parents are pretty awesome. I always liked my dad because he's definitely not the ideal dad at all, but in a lot of ways, it kind of helped me kind of like grow into not being like, I don't know, appropriate way to say it would be toughen up my skin a little bit. And my mom kind of always taught me to look at things from the other side, which when I was younger, she used this like analogy or reference, and she'd say things aren't always black and white. And I always took things as black and white back in the day, but there's a few circumstances where she like proved me very much wrong, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is kind of messed up. So it really changed my outlook and how I acted in school and things like that, especially working with like a lot of the time I'd be partnered up with kids that in my public school, there's definitely some kids that were on the poverty side of things, and I'd always think like, man, it's all their fault, really. But in reality, it's not. Like, you know, maybe somebody didn't have the ability to take like a shower, or maybe their parents didn't have money to get their clothes cleaned or something like that.
Oh man.
So
I can relate to that so much. Yeah. Carry on.
Yeah, it was so I don't know, it just taught me to be a nice person and just treat people beyond their smells or looks. And it's like, you don't need to be their best friend. Just treat them with respect, and you don't have to be mean to them. Just leave them alone and do your own thing. But I think a lot of people, at least nowadays, I feel like a lot of people don't have a very, very tough skin. They can't handle a lot of things. And I'm like, not boasting or anything, but I think kids could toughen up a little bit more.
Well, I think also, especially with what we see in recent, whatever event you want to point to, is that it's so easy to be heard these days that petty bullshit and outrage posts get more circulation, and that gives power to the person that decides to be angry about something. I am, I can't think of it right anyway. I got to watch Fight Club again, but the idea of, I must be morally superior because I perceive that you've wronged me. It's just a power game. But yeah, I think that it has a lot to do with technology, and people have always been looking for one advantage over each other. If you're not stronger, then maybe you can just get all the PTA and the moms mad at them instead.
I know one example was like, it was like guys wanting to be like super feminist, so they could and the idea was that they would stand up for women's rights and be like totally feminist, like against guys.
White knighting.
And
White knighting.
Yes, white knighting, and like in doing that, the whole thing was to just try to get girls to like them.
No, it wasn't trying to get them to like. It was trying to get in their pants. You know.
Yes.
Like overlook my personality. Look at how outraged I am that every man except for me is a pig. Yeah. Tips
exactly.
Fedora.
Yes. I can't get over that. Tips hat, milady.
Sorry, I was laughing at that, but I'm also feeding goldfish to a very demanding tiny woman right now. Here you go, baby. Yeah, eat goldfish.
What kind of goldfish
Not
you
my
got?
sorrow. The cheesy goldfishes. I have one of those like big gallon cartons. It's fantastic being an adult.
Oh yeah.
Here you go, baby.
I could eat. I have some Cheez-Its. I might have to game on those.
There you go. Okay, well, I feel like we got a good little talk today, and I got lots of material to work with. So was there something that you wanted me to ask you that we didn't end up talking about today, or something you wanted to say?
Well, KDFW is our squadron of War Thunder. We got top 50 last month, or top 100 last month, and we're shooting for top 50 right now, or like, I think we're like 44 or something like that. And that's been pretty exciting, kind of getting that rocking. I'm sure there's something I could think of, but I think we covered all the bases pretty well. Check out the streams. Working on this idea I had to kind of get chat involved in my gameplay for streams through donating, and they can have me do certain things in the game. Everybody seemed kind of interested in that. I'm just trying to figure out ways to. I have the premise down. It's just how I want to go about streaming and having, like, I want to have something on the screen displaying what your options are, but then it's like, I don't know how I can do that. Gotta do either have it in the description, or like overlays are simple, but I'm on PlayStation, so it's either I have to restream it on my laptop, or through OBS, or my phone, or something like that. But I think we covered a lot, so it was fun.
All right, I really enjoyed sitting back and poking at you a little bit with some of my comments, and then getting to know who you are as a person a little bit better, and even some of how you got into making videos in the first place, which coming from, I mean, you know, I won't share this with the ladies, but you're a little bit limited in your hardware, and it's really about the passion and getting around obstacles, like you just mentioned with streaming. You're going to be doing neat interactive stuff with your stream, and you're going to make it work for a PlayStation. That'll be exciting to see in the future. KDFVW, look them up in-game. They're an up-and-coming, competitive, exciting brotherhood. And sisters welcome, Tips Fedora of gamers. And with that, I think I'll wrap it up for all of you back home. Zakkattack, say goodbye for everybody.
I will catch you guys in the next one.
All right, guys. Bye-bye.